What is up, guys? I'm Kyle at Fortune. Today we're building a new rear bumper for the Samurai. So that last time we were on the Rubicon, we hit it pretty hard. The rear bumper just got its butt kicked. No other way to do it. We've got to build a new one. Now we could go and buy one, but most of them are pretty up there, and I feel like I can get the steel and make one for a lot cheaper, and it could be something kind of unique, you know, that we built. So got this thing cleaned up. We're going to get it in the garage. We're going to start tearing all this stuff off, and we're going to start figuring out how we're going to get this bumper on there. Going to kind of go for it and see how it turns out. Right, here's a look at some of the steel we just picked up. This is some 4x4 square tube. This is 2x4, and they're both an 1/8 inch wall. I wanted to go 3/16 on this big one and 1/8. Very limited steel where I'm at right now, so that's what we got to deal with. It's a little bit thinner than I wanted. I smacked the bumpers pretty hard on a lot of stuff, especially the Samurai, but we're just going to try to reinforce it where we need it. So you can see I've got some markings on there. Just kind of measured out the total width, so I got to make a cut over there. Kind of just labeled it with tub. You'll see later on I'm going to have a shackle right there, a brake light, reverse in the middle, brake light, shackle, and turn signal again. And then this should all be excess. Getting everything ready. We start measuring up, double checking it, and then making some cuts. Everything I build seems like I have to either cut in the middle or drill through it. And one thing I learned early on is you need to get quality materials for that. Don't go to Harbor Freight and just get the cheapest stuff you can unless it's like, you know, a flap wheel or a grinding wheel. The rest of the stuff for like cutting and drilling, I definitely use the quality products because it just goes so much better and you have a lot cleaner cuts and the materials are lasting longer. All of these Milwaukee hole saws have been really awesome. I ended up finding a kit on Home Depot that had a ton of different sizes in it. It had only one size that I need missing from the kit, and that was a 3/4 that I had to buy on its own, which was like $6. But this kit was super cheap on Home Depot, so check it out, grab yourself one. And definitely don't make the mistake I made of using the wrong size hole saw and ruining your whole project. Here's where we are now. These are where our turn signals are going to be. Brakes, brake, and then this will be the reverse light. And we got the holes cleaned up. They look pretty decent. Might need a little bit more refining, but now we're going to start looking at how to mount this to the Samurai. Got our nuts welded into place right there. They're just tacked there. That way I can just bolt the bumper up into them because I'm not gonna be able to access that once the bumper's on. And then here's the brackets that I bent up. You can see it's a little bit less than 90 degrees because that's the angle that matches the back of the Samurai a little bit better. But this essentially just goes on like that, and then we'll throw some bolts up in there. And then once it's ready, we'll just line the bumper up to these plates, tack weld it, pull everything off, and then weld the bumper up. Well, I made a pretty big bonehead mistake. Went to go put one of the marker lights. Actually, this is one of the turn signal lights I went to put in the bumper and see how it was gonna fit while I had some downtime, and it didn't fit. I was like, what the world? How's that possible? Turns out I put the wrong size hole saw on there. It was supposed to be 2.5, but for some reason I grabbed a 2 1/8, and yeah, that's too small. How do I drill this out? Like, drilling a hole on top of another hole is not easy, especially to get it centered on there. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that. Now that I have these wings on the bumper, I also can't put it in the press. So I've concocted this little thing up. You can see it's the 2 1/8 with enough thread on there. So it's got the 2 1/8 on the inside, so it can be like a guide inside the hole, and then the 2.5 on the outside. And this is all my little impact driver. Kind of a big package now, so I don't know if this little driver can handle it, but we're gonna see. We're gonna put Ryobi to the test, and we're gonna see if we can even drill a hole this way. Otherwise, I might have to rig up a way to put this in my press. It's about the end of this day. Gonna have to call it quits here. It's getting a little bit late. Don't wanna make all the neighbors hate me more than they already do. So we're gonna stop with the grinding and the cutting for today, but I'll give you an update on cutting all those holes and stuff. Didn't work. It kind of worked for one of the holes. They do not like to cut over another hole. So I didn't have a whole lot of options. I tried it in the press. That didn't work either. What I ended up doing was just using a Sawzall with a metal cutting blade and like cutting a bunch of notches in where the oval or the hole needed to be, and then cutting in a crisscross to get all those out. I've actually got one more to do. I'll show you what it looks like here. So there's one right there. This is the last one I need to cut out. And you can see I'm just cutting all these teeth out and getting a nice straight line, a little bit of cleanup to do, and then cut this out again. Does it look as good as it did before, like a super clean hole like that? No, it definitely doesn't. But we've got 2 of them. I just placed the lights, and then these are the turn signals on the end. We got the caps cut out. So here's what the slider portion looked like. You can see there's just a little bit of slag on there, and we've got some surface rust. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish cutting all of this out, and then I've got this last turn signal to do over here. Then I think what I'm going to do is just get some mineral spirits, rub it all over the metal, get it nice and clean, and then I'm going to prime it as is. I find it's a little bit easier to see the imperfections in the metal when it is primed. So we'll prime it. We'll go over any of the rough spots or the slag with a flap wheel. I'm going to keep my welds. Some of them look okay, like this one right here, and then some of them are okay, but we're just going to keep that how it is. This thing's going to get beat up anyways. Really, we are focusing on this just being a tough piece, and we're going to continue on this tomorrow. So yeah, mess everywhere, destroying my garage. But hey, that's what happens when you're working on stuff in your garage like the average Joe. All right, we are back at it. What we need to do now is get our holes cleaned up the best we can. They are looking a little rough right now. As long as they hold the lights, that's fine. We'll be good. Once those are done, we're gonna weld some receiver hitch tubing to the bottom of the bumper so we can run our, different accessories back there, mostly just a recovery point, dead center how I like it. And then after that, we'll get to the mineral spirits. We'll get it prepped. We'll start to paint it, and then we'll see where we're at. All right, the paint on the bumper's drying out back, and I was just looking at these nuts here that we kind of just tacked into place. And this one right here, when we went to go bolt it up originally, it kind of wanted to bend. So I'm gonna clean that out, and I think I'm gonna try to get some more weld on there so when we put the bolt up, it doesn't try to bend again, because we don't have any access to this once the bumper's on. And you can kind of see the threads there. That one had a hard time going in, so I want to make that as easy as possible when we go to bolt this thing up. All right, first look at the bumper mounted up, nice and tight up there. And I think it looks pretty cool. Definitely got that protection we're looking for, especially with these angles down there. What I've got to do here, you can see scraped off a bunch of the paint when I opened up the tailgate. I knew it was going to do something like that because it's pretty close. So my plan is to just cut below this hinge right there and take a little bit off. That way I can keep all the clearance from the bumper. If there's enough room, I'll put that little rubber lip on there to help keep the water out. But I mean, even right now, there's a pretty good gap in there. So I'm not too concerned about, keeping her watertight. At the point where it's time to do some wiring, which is my least favorite part of this. I don't even want to do it, but we got to do it because I need these to be driving down the road. This can get super complicated, but I've got some ways to show you how to keep it simple and not mess it up. First, we've got to drill some holes. The front side of the bumper, I'm going to drill one, basically like right behind the turn marker or the turn signal. You can see right here, we've got this plug, and then these are the lights that all come out and go into the lights in the bumper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip these, run this grommet through them, and then this grommet is going to fill the hole in the bumper, just enough room to let these cables through, hopefully keep a lot of water out. After that, we'll start wiring it up. First, we got to get the holes drilled. All right, so here's one of the stock lamp assemblies. Looks like this. See, on the truck, it goes text up. Brake light in the middle. This skinnier one is the reverse light. And then the one on the outside is your turn signal. So what we're gonna do is clip these wires off. But before I do that, I definitely wanna mark what all this stuff is so I don't get them mixed up. There's only one with 3 wires coming out of it. That's the brake. You'll see they all have a black wire coming out of it. That's the ground. So that's easy. So all we have to worry about are these 2 other colors. I have some labels on here for mine. And it's a little bit confusing because the lights coming out of your LED lights are different colors. And it's kind of backwards, but if you get confused about what these are, the white one is the ground. You can see there's some text up here that says ground, tail, and then the black one would be your stop and turn. But the ground have these little ring terminals on them, so you know that one's going to be the ground. So that one obviously will go to the black, which is the ground for these. Then we've got the green coming out of the turn signal, which needs to go to the red, because that is your tail light, your running light. The red with the blue stripe is going to go to black. So I have those written on there so when I cut them, I don't get them all mixed up, because there's another green one over here for the reverse. And basically it's just like that has to go to the positive of the reverse, because we know this black one's a ground. That'll go to the white. And then whatever color the other wire is, that one needs to go to the green with the yellow stripe. Lastly, we've got our blinker over here, our turn signal. It has another red wire, so that just needs to go to the positive because we know the black is the ground. So it seems kind of confusing, but it really isn't. Once you get going, it's not bad. I just bought a big old thing of these butt connectors, and I actually really hate these. I'm only doing this because I'm trying to get over my hate of these. I think this is the right way to do it. You can put some heat shrink over these if you want. Yeah, we're just going to splice it together. You got to be really careful how you crimp these and make sure it is contacting the wire, because I've wired up a whole bunch of stuff before and it didn't work. And I found out at the very end when I redid it, it was one of the butt connectors didn't crimp right on the ground. So make sure you put some attention in on that. All right, let's start snipping some wires. All right, we have all those on. So where this plugs in under the Samurai isn't going to be long enough, so we're probably going to have to run some extra wires out here. So I've got a spool, I think it's 16 gauge. Oh, it's so hot out here. These wire bundles are coming down from the tub, and I probably should have marked this. It wires off, twisted, but anyways, one goes to one side, one goes to the other side. And looks like these ones are ripped out, and I think that was the passenger side. But anyways, if it doesn't work, we'll just redo it. We'll unplug these and put them on the other side. So we'll clamp this thing back together, and that's going to show us how far this all needs to be reached. Gosh, guys, I mentioned I don't like wiring. It's like my least favorite part. I usually go too fast and mess this up. So I'm thinking about trying something new. Maybe I'll go too slow and mess something up. You know, one thing that I wasn't really expecting was having an issue with the LEDs themselves, because the Samurai definitely didn't like it. The relay wasn't enough to keep up with it. I think it kind of thought that maybe there just wasn't anything plugged in at all because the draw was so low. So I ended up having to get a new relay. Check that out, it's in the description. Also, when you do these lights, if you just get that buzzing sound, that's it. That means the relay is not working. Honestly, you just plug this thing in, all of a sudden you have a click again and the lights were working. All right, we've got all the lights wired up. You can see our running lights are on with the rest of the lights up there. See, we've got a bunch of wiring on the bottom that we just need to tuck up. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. It's a little bit unusual having those brake lights kind of like inboarded like that, but once again, you know, we're gonna have to reinforce this area and then run a shackle off that eventually when we stretch it. So the Samurai has been in the garage for at least a month. It's probably been like 2 months, and it's now out, and there's the bumper. So yeah, it was a really long time building this thing. Kind of got sick in the middle of it. Work got super busy, everything. So it took a long time. There's a few times, I'm not gonna lie, I wish I would have just bought one and I could have just slapped it on there real quick, but I think this thing turned out pretty cool. I really like it. I like this part on the end, like the little mini rock slider thing. And you know, I just like how simple it is. It looks pretty tough. We've got the single shackle back there. You know, there's not much more I could ask for on this. The only thing I don't really care for is that center light being like chrome like that for the reverse light, but not a huge deal. I know a lot of people don't like these trailer style lights. They just don't like how it looks. It's like purely a cosmetic thing, but you know, really look how flat those mount. That part is killer because now I have a little bit more overhang than I had before. they're flat, so the chances of them getting scraped up, and they also have a little give too. Like if you push on them, you know, they go in a little bit. So like if they get smacked, you know, they're probably not going to break. Also, these lights are super cheap. You can get them anywhere. You don't have to go LED. You can do the regular ones. And I mean, you can get these things for super cheap at like a trailer supply store. So bunch of reasons why I wanted to get them. Those were most of them. And then at the end, what I decided to do was throw these little marker lights in there. They're just red ones. I ended up picking up a bag of these. I think it was 10. It was 5 amber and 5 red off of Amazon, and I want to say it was like $9, so it really wasn't that much. And I can start using those for other projects like trailer, maybe some kind of fender project on the Jeep. As usual, all the stuff that I used is down in the description, so if you want to check out some of the parts or the tools I used. Guys, thanks for checking out our videos. We are going to get this thing off-road hopefully in a few weeks here, and I know I'm going to hit this rear bumper. Probably going to do it on purpose just to see how it holds up, and if it holds up, man, I'll definitely show you guys. If not, I'm going to hide it and pretend that I did a great job building this bumper. No, I'm just kidding. You guys will see how it handles. You'll see if this just gets ripped off sometime, or you know, the 1/8 inch ends up being too thin and just pokes a hole. So it might be kind of funny, but definitely make sure you're subscribed so you can see it when those videos come out. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.